Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news for the Texas Longhorn fans coming out Thursday night. Four-star wide receiver Daylan McCutchen flipping his commitment from Florida State to Texas. I think where you want to start, this Texas class in 2025, particularly in that wide receiver room. I quite frankly think it's the best wide receiver class that we see in 2025. You look at Khalil Lockett, you look at Jamie French, now you add Daylan McCutchen. I think what stands out to me first is all three really good wide receivers that do different things. And you look at how Coach Sark likes to construct his wide receiver room. I want different wide receivers that can do different things and bring different skill sets. You look at this young wide receiver room, even going back to Ryan Wingo coming in the 2024 class, you combine that with a quarterback room that is unquestionably going to be very good for the next couple of years. You give Coach Sark quarterback play, wide receiver play, how they're recruiting and developing on the offensive line. This is a Texas offense that's going to continue to be really dang good over the next couple of years. Now, Daylan McCutchen specifically, and the Florida State fans know I like Daylan McCutchen a lot. We talked about him over the summer when he committed to Florida State. I think where you want to start with Daylan McCutchen is you look at a lot of kids, specifically at the wide receiver position coming out of high school, and you immediately look at, all right, what's the size? What's the weight? What's the track and field times? Daylan McCutcheon's not one of those wide receivers that jumps out of the page in terms of height, weight, or speed. But when you turn on the film of Daylan McCutchen, that's when you start to get excited about what this can be as a college football player. I mean, really, really smooth mover. And again, he's not necessarily a burner in a straight line, although he certainly ain't slow either. Like this kid can cook, but he's not necessarily a 10-6 guy in the 100-meter dash. But how he varies his speed, how he's able to create separation, how he's able to make people miss in space, the movement skills, the short area quicks. That's what you love most about Daylan McCutchen. I think he kind of very similar play style to a guy like Jamie French. Jamie French a little bit longer and bigger, but you look at Daylan McCutchen, Jamie French, and say both really smooth movers that are going to separate at a high level at the college level. I think that's where you want to start. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of the film, and I think more importantly, talk about where this Texas class is going in 2025. Now, before we get into it, as always, to the Texas fans, it's been a blast talking this team in 2024. But more importantly, the amount of support y'all have continued to show, it means the world. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Daylan McCutchen. You probably first just start with the pure production, and this kind of lines up with, hey, a really good football player. Like, don't necessarily care what the height and weight is, don't necessarily care what the track and field times are. This kid, when it's time to play on Friday nights, knows how to play at a high level. Junior year, 94 catches, 1,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, elite short area quicks, really impressive ball skills. He's not necessarily a Khalil Lockett in size, but man, this kid, when that football is in the air, like he can play bigger than he is. You get into some of the film, and again, I think where you want to start is just what he can do with the football in his hands. Really, really good feel for making people miss. You see it on the kick return here. Short area quicks when it's time to really put the the pedal down, if you will. He has that long speed. And again, I don't mean to undersell his long speed. Like this kid can cook. But again, what I love most is the short area quicks that he displays. Continue to work through the film, can win vertically, as we'll see here. Like if you're a safety, you don't respect what he can do, he can certainly make you pay. I think the most impressive reps for Daylan McCutchen come in these kind of circumstances where he is making people miss and the football in the same. I mean, like again, short area quick, joystick type stuff. This is like that's what you want, especially in a wide receiver. Like you want those wide receivers that have the short area quicks that can make people miss. But that type of stuff also translates when you're running routes. And you continue to work through the film. And again, nuanced route runner, like knows how to vary his speed, sitting it down in zone coverage right here. Then when he gets the football in his hands again, like this kid just is a human joystick, for lack of better terms. You see a little bit of the burners in open space as well. Not many things. And then here are the ball skills. Like again, not necessarily the biggest wide receiver, 5'11", buck 80. Look at the ball skills. Like, hey, we're going to go up, play a little bit bigger than we are, have some body control to get that foot in. This kid, when you turn on the film, Like that's when you really start to like Daylan McCutchen as a football player. Works vertically down the field. Again, he can win everywhere. I mean, he can win in the short intermediate routes. He can win with the football in his hands. Really, really clever and tricky release here. Looking at a little bit of a cover too. Like I know to throttle it down. Again, that's really important. You talk about wide receiver IQ. I know I can't just keep running fast. I got a safety over the top. I got to find this little honey hole right here, throttle it down, make a disgusting play with your hands, and then be physical after the catch. Not a lot of things to dislike about Daylan McCutchen. You take a look at the 2025 class. It's loaded for Texas, specifically in the wide receiver room. Obviously, headlined by both 2 5 stars and Khalil Lockett and Jamie French. Khalil Lockett, a little bit more of that bigger, longer wide receiver that I think really does work vertically down the field well. Jamie French, I've made the Stephon Diggs comparisons to him in the past. I think his movement skills, his route running ability, that's kind of what stands out. And then Daylan McCutchen, I think a very similar kind of wide receiver to Jamie French. And you pair that up with guys like Ryan Wingo in the 2024 class, the wide receivers or the quarterback play that they're going to have over the next couple of years. KJ Lacey, Diabell, obviously Arch Manning. This offense is going to be exciting. Now, I think some really exciting news for Texas fans that came out today, actually. 5-star defensive lineman Justice Terry, formerly committed to USC, going to be taking an official visit to Texas for the Georgia game. What has stood out to, and we kind of continue to say this, like what feels different about this Texas team over the last couple of years? Look, Texas has always had pretty good quarterbacks. They've had some difference makers at wide receiver, but what made them different last year? What makes them different this year? Line of scrimmage play. There's been a very, very strong emphasis from Coach Sark to get your line of scrimmage players coming out of high school, get them in the program, and develop them. Justice Terry, and you talk about an arms race, right? You look at Georgia, Alabama, some of the top dogs in the SEC, along with Texas. These are the type of recruiting battles that allow you to win SEC championships over the next couple of years. So you are competing with a lot of the same teams that you're going to be competing at the top of with the SEC and national championships. If Texas can find a way to get into it with Justice Terry, I think that's a very exciting conversation for a lot of Texas fans. You can tell this team's building some momentum. And when you win like Texas on the football field, again, Texas recruits itself generally, but now you combine Texas seeming like they might be the program to beat in 2024. It's only going to pay dividends on the recruiting trail. We'll cut it out there. Daylan McCutchen, I think a really sneaky good wide receiver that can bring a kind of diverse skill set to this Coach Sark offense, which is, if you're a Texas fan, like that's exactly what you want. We'll cut it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.